Hello, my dear students. Welcome you all to Sri Jain Rank Zone classes. I am your mentor and your friend for the subject biology, and I will be taking the zoology section, that is the animal science. My dear students, in the previous lecture, we have completed the acquired immunity and different elements of cell-mediated immunity and humoral immunity. Now I'm going to discuss about the disorders, the problems which are related to the immune system. Okay. So we'll move forward with the disorders of the immune system in this lecture. The first is the hypersensitivity. Okay, so hypersensitive disorder or allergy. This is also known as hypersensitivity. Hypersensitivity. Okay, the phenomenon of a person exhibits a highly above average response or a hypersensitiveness for a common antigen or an agent is called allergy. Allergy is a response developed by a host body, and that response is very aggressive. Okay, so being a person, if he or she is hypersensitive towards any common antigen, okay, and maybe the others are not for the same antigen, it depends upon the major histocompatibility complex, MHC. Okay, so this MHC or human leukocyte antigen, it basically decides that the person will have a hypersensitivity to a particular antigen or not. Okay. So if a person is showing a hypersensitive or above average response against any antigen, so this is known as what? Allergy. The agent which causes allergies, they are known as what? Allergens. They are known as what? Allergens. Pollen grains, some food preparations like egg, fish, medicines like penicillin, they are the common allergens. Okay, so pollen grains, some of the food preparations like egg, fish, medicines like penicillin, they are some common allergens. The antibodies produced to these are of IgE type. Okay, epsilon. Ig is known as epsilon. Okay, IgE type, IgE is anti-allergic. The antibodies they are produced are IgE type. Symptoms include sneezing, watery eyes, running nose, and difficulty in breathing. Running nose is also known as rhinitis. Running nose. Difficulty in breathing, it can lead to, in very complicated cases, it can lead to hypoxia and anoxia. Or asphyxia. Okay, so sneezing, watery nose, running nose, and difficulty in breathing. Difficulty in breathing due to overproduction of mucus. Okay, it is due to the release of chemicals like histamine and serotonin from the mast cells. The mast cells, they get activated, or their activation is because of hyper secretion of or hyperformation of IgE type antibodies, which will result in the over secretion of histamine and serotonin. Histamine is a bronchoconstrictor, and vasodilator. It will decrease the blood pressure, but it will constrict the bronchioles. Because of constriction of bronchioles, the airway passage get blocked. Passage get blocked. Get blocked. Okay. So histamine causes bronchoconstriction and vasodilation. Now, for determining the cause of allergy, the patient is exposed to or injected with very small doses of possible allergens. Okay, this is known as what? A skin allergic test, and the reactions are studied. Okay, the use of drugs which are working against the histaminic receptors. These are known as what? Antihistaminic drugs. These antihistaminic drugs are steroidal based drugs. Okay, they make less severe the symptoms of allergy. It is said that modern lifestyle, which leads to highly protected environment in early stages of life, leads to the development of allergies because body couldn't develop the secondary and the primary immune response. Okay, when you are not giving that lag for the body to develop the primary immune response, so delay in the development of primary immune response. Now coming to next, bronchial asthma. The mode of entry of the pathogen is by inhalation. It is characterized by the spasm of the smooth muscles present in the walls of bronchiole. Bronchial asthma is also a hypersensitive or an allergic disorder which is characterized by the spasm of smooth muscles present in the walls of bronchiole. So if the smooth muscles of the bronchiole they are becoming spasmodic, so what will happen? They will not help or they will not aid in the inhalation and exhalation process. Okay. It is caused due to the hypersensitivity to the foreign substances present in the air passing through it. Understood? So bronchial asthma is caused due to the hypersensitivity to the foreign substances present in the air passing through it. The mucous membranes on the wall, the mucous membranes which are present on the wall of the air passage start secreting excess amount of mucus. Okay, this excess amount of mucus will block the airway passage. Symptoms are coughing, difficulty in breathing, asphyxia, mainly during expiration, okay, or exhalation. And wheezing. Wheezing means a sound comes along with exhalation of air. Okay, more and more amount of cough is formed. Prevention and cure: avoid exposure to allergens. Okay, hyposensitization by small doses of specific allergen. These specific allergen, when injected in small doses, they produce the anti-allergic substances or they decrease the hypersensitive response of the body. This is known as what? Hyposensitization. Antibiotic therapy for removing the infection if any, and use of bronchodilator drugs which will dilate the bronchioles and the airway passage will be clean. Inhalers for symptomatic relief. Okay, these inhalers are of two types: steroidal based and non-steroidal based. Understood? This is bronchial asthma, which is also an allergic disorder. Other allergic disorders includes hay fever. Hay fever, the mucosa of eyes and upper respiratory passage become hypersecretory in response to the allergen, especially the pollen grains. Okay, so the hay fever, it is characterized by the mucosa of eyes and the upper respiratory passage becomes hypersecretory in response to the allergen, especially the pollen grain. Eczema is dermatitis. It is a skin infection. Symptoms including reddening of skin and scales are formed. Okay, scales means transitory lines on the epithelium. Okay, anaphylactic shock. Anaphylactic shock, it is a severe form of allergy. If an allergen enters into the blood, it stimulates the secretion of histamines from the mast cells of the whole body, causing vasodilation and increasing the permeability of the blood cells. The blood cells, their permeability increases. That's why the blood cells, they will leak out their plasma and the tissue fluid will increase. Because of excessive tissue fluid, what will happen? The blood pressure will drop down, okay, and the edema will be there. Edema means accumulation of tissue fluid. Accumulation of tissue fluid. As a result, large amount of fluid is leaked out from the blood vessel into extracellular space. Excess fall in blood pressure may be fatal. When this anaphylactic shock, it further complicates, okay, and this edema becomes generalized. So this generalized edema becomes what? Anasarca. Generalized edema. In the whole body. Understood? What are the autoimmune disorders? When the immune system is unable to discriminate between self and non-self antigens, okay, antibodies are formed against the self antigens also. These antibodies destroy the self antigen bearing cells, okay. Thus the antibody formation against self antigens is called autoimmunity. When body makes antibodies against their own antigens, okay, so this makes the condition autoimmune. This occurs due to the failure of body to eliminate the immune cells with an ability to target self cell. Okay, mean the property of opsonization gets weakened. Gets weakened. Okay. Myasthenia gravis is the autoimmune disorder. Antibodies are formed against acetylcholine receptors. Okay. You will study about neuromuscular junctions. These neuromuscular junctions act in skeletal system to basically transmit the message from nerves to muscles. Okay. So they have acetylcholine receptors, which is a neurotransmitter. So antibodies are formed against this acetylcholine receptors, resulting in the destruction of acetylcholine receptors. So if acetylcholine is not secreted, or if it is secreted but not responded, the nerve transmission or the muscle contraction will not be there. It will result in the reduced efficiency of the impulse conduction by the nervous tissue. This is myasthenia gravis. Okay. Pernicious anemia, antibodies are formed against some cells of digestive system due to the vitamin B12 cyanocobalamin deficiency. This vitamin B12 is not absorbed in the intestine in case of pernicious anemia and blood. Okay, so blood formation is decreased because the maturation of blood depends upon vitamin B12 and other cofactors along with folic acid. This deficiency of blood is called pernicious anemia. It is also an autoimmune disorder. Okay. Hashimoto's disease, antibodies are formed against the thyroid gland. Okay. These antibodies destroy the thyroid gland and cause a deficiency of thyroid hormone, thyroxine hormone. Rheumatoid arthritis, in simple terms, the disease results due to the immune system attacking the joints, mainly the articulator plates and synovial joints. There is a swelling of the synovial membrane. Inflammation of synovial membrane is known as what? Synovitis. The cause of this disease are not perfectly determined. Some genetic factors are known to play a role in case of rheumatoid arthritis, especially the C-reactive protein levels. If the C-reactive protein levels, which are also known as CRP levels, increases or enhances, it results as a marker of autoimmune disorder like RA, rheumatoid arthritis. Along with, there is a term RA factor, okay, which basically denotes the presence of blood SGOT and SGPT levels. This will be detailed discussed in the next chapter only, in which we are going to discuss about the structural organization of the tissues. Okay, we will discuss about myasthenia gravis and its types as well. Okay, treatment. Pain and inflammation can be alleviated by heat treatment, heat therapy, and physiotherapy. Okay, joint replacement surgery may be carried out in extreme cases in case of rheumatoid arthritis. Immunodeficiency disorders. Immunodeficiency disorders in which the one's immune immune system is degraded. The body is unable to mount a proper immune response. The body is unable to mount a proper immune response, maybe due to the genetic mutation, absence of some genes, okay, infection, malnutrition, and accidents. There are many reasons for this. It can be genetic mutation, it can be because of the absence of some genes, it can be because of the infection, malnutrition, and accidents. Understood? Now coming to next, examples are SCID, which is severe combined immunodeficiency syndrome. Okay, severe combined immunodeficiency syndrome. This disorder is due to the genetic mutations or deficiency of enzyme adenosine deaminase (ADA). Adenosine deaminase is the enzyme. If it gets deficient, it leads to the disorder severe combined immunodeficiency. Because of some genetic mutations, the levels of ADA decreases. The enzyme involved in the formation of T and B lymphocytes. This enzyme is basically involved in the formation of T and B lymphocytes. It's get characterized by a very low number of circulating thymocytes. Okay, affected individual die at very early age. So the blood circulating or the free thymocytes decreases. Okay, ADA levels decreases very much. The treatment is gene therapy. AIDS, acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. It is caused by a group of virus which belongs to HTLV, human T lymphocyte virus. This human T lymphocyte virus strain 4 is designated as HIV human immunodeficiency virus, which leads to the destruction of T helper cells, TH. These T helper cells, they actually, when they are degraded, they won't be activating the B lymphocytes to produce antibodies and the T killer cells for their further processment of killing the non-self antigens. This causes the decrease in the count of T helper cells from a normal 950 per millimeter cube to less than 200 per millimeter cube. With this collection of T helper cells, T suppressor cells, T killer cells, and T memory cells. They are known as what, along with B lymphocytes, they are known as what? Cluster of differentiation, CD, cluster of differentiation. Understood? Insulin dependent diabetes mellitus IDD1, IDDM. It is type 1 diabetes mellitus. IDDM or insulin dependent diabetes mellitus is type 1 diabetes mellitus, which is an autoimmune disorder in which the antibodies are basically formed against the islets of Langerhans present in the pancreas. Antibodies are formed against some cells of the pancreas. The cells of the pancreas are beta islets of Langerhans. This causes the deficiency in insulin in the body. Okay. Symptoms are hyperglycemia, high amount of blood sugar level, more than 140, glycosuria, appearance of glucose in urine, polyuria, frequent urination, polydipsia, frequent thirst, polyphagia, increased food intake, because the blood is having more amount of glucose, but that glucose is not transported by the membrane proteins inside the cell, and that is why cell is not undergoing the cellular metabolism and lacks in the production of ATP. Then multiple sclerosis, it is also a autoimmune disorder in which antibodies are formed against the myelin sheath of the nerve cells, leading to the destruction of myelin sheath, okay, causes neurological dysfunctions. So the multiple sclerosis or insulin dependent diabetes mellitus type 1, okay, they all are autoimmune disorders. Okay. Immune therapy is the treatment of the disease by inducing or enhancing or suppressing an immune response in which the immune response is suppressed or enhanced, means modulated. These are known as what? Immune modulators. Immune response can be modulated by suitably altering the working of various components of the immune system. They may include interleukins, which are the cytokines, interferons against cytokines, and tumor necrosis factor. to basically control the rate of apoptosis. Immunomodulators are the drugs that modulate the activity of patient's immune response to reach a desired level of therapeutic effect. Means beneficial. Beneficial effect. Types: immune activation therapy. It aims in the increase of immune response, administration of preformed antibodies. Okay. Immune suppressive therapy. It aims in the reduce of immune response by use of cytokine inhibitors or drugs. Okay, so that the immune levels can be maintained optimally. So, my dear students, we have completed with the immunity, the diseases, and the types of immunity for the immune cells. Now, in the next turn, we will be discussing about the types of diseases and their modes of transmission and everything. Till then, my dear students, please take care of yourself, stay at home. Bye bye, take care.